we're not meant to go run away. And I guess, like, maybe you're supposed to be salt and light later in life, but we're not supposed to just, like, run away into, like, only going to church, only working in a Christian organization, but we're supposed to be in the midst of non-Christians. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you that we get to come here and film a podcast. Help us to use and choose our words wisely for the purpose of edification, and help us to just have a good time. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Hello, Shane.
Amen. Hello, Max.
We've both been on a trip recently.
We have.
Separately.
Yes.
Shane, you saw snow for the first time.
I did.
Tell me about that.
So I went to Lake Tahoe, which is in Nevada. Okay.
Didn't know that.
So yes, it's in Nevada. And Lake Tahoe is this, it's almost, my dad told me this, it's kind of like, it's a crater of a volcano, but there's water in it. Kind of like how Yellowstone is, how Yellowstone's a volcano?
Okay.
Okay. Lake Tahoe is basically a volcano.
Is it like geysers?
It's like, kind of. It's like, so, because it's 6,500 feet up, that's where the lake is. Okay. So our hotel was like 8,000 feet in the air. So the air, a little hard to breathe, but you get used to it. But snow everywhere. Very beautiful. A lot of snow slopes. I went skiing for the first time. Fun fact. So I walk. No, I won't do that. I walk weird. Okay, so my feet, it's kind of like a duck almost, because it's like biological. So when you ski, to stop, have you skied before?
You have to make a V.
You have to make a V.
Turn your feet.
They didn't teach me the turn feet thing.
Okay.
They taught me the V thing. Physically, I cannot move my feet close enough to do the V because of how I walk and because of the weight of the skis. So I got everything else down except stopping.
Shane, that's the most important part.
I know. I couldn't stop. So to stop, I would have to fall. And then the guy's like, let me see how you walk, because he was noticing I was walking weird. So like I walked the way I walk. And it's like, because apparently it's like semi-common the way I walk, but it's not. It's like not normal, but it's the most.
It's happened before.
It's happened before. Like they've seen people like that. So then they're like, oh yeah, we can fix this. We can fix this. So they have this bungee cord that they attach the skis together with to just bring my feet closer. Right. So I still have to stop on my own, but it was the point where like my feet were close enough to where I was actually able to do it. So in a way, it was like a cheat, but it's like it didn't do it for me. It just made it possible for me to do. So I skied. Sucked at first, got the bungee. It was very fun. I only did greens because I didn't have a lot of time. We went later in the day, so the like ski slopes closed, or not the slopes. The ski lifts closed. So there was no way of getting back up. So we skied. We went on hikes in the snow.
Nice.
And snowshoes. I think it was a total of like 8 miles for both of them combined.
What?
Very long hikes. Very fun. I have plenty of photos. It's very nice. And I spent time with the family. Sometimes we argue on vacations, but this vacation we were very good with each other, very calm with each other. So I have no complaints. It was a good 5 days. I'm glad I went. And yes, it was fun. It was fun to see snow. Yeah.
Speaking of hiking.
Yes, Max. You went hiking.
I went on a hiking
with a couple of friends, other guests who have also been on the pod.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so I went to Los Maples, and it was with 3 other friends.
Yeah.
All 3 of them were 18.
Okay.
So this was the first time I'd ever been on a trip, like fully planned by kids without parents.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to find an Airbnb that allowed 18-year-olds to rent it, but we scoured the internet. We searched very hard, and we finally found like 3 of them that didn't have an age limit besides just being 18.
Yeah.
Right? So we found them, and then we were trying to decide whether or not we were just going to like not tell them our age and our situation.
Yeah.
But we decided to tell them our age, and like the guy wasn't on board at first, but then JJ said, we're all like high school students. We can send you our transcripts to show our good standings in school and our grades and all kinds of stuff. And then he like told them our whole agenda for the trip and made us very trustworthy. So we got the place.
That's good.
It was very difficult.
Yeah,
but we finally got the place.
Okay.
We planned out the whole trip. The parents were not on board at first. They were like trying to shut down the trip, but they changed their minds. And we went on the trip.
That's good.
On the way there, we actually had some quite tumultuous times. Actually, the windshield whited out because of rain twice.
Okay.
It was very bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
That's not good.
And then we made it to the place. We hung out. We went hiking at Los Maples. we had some random truck driver like chase us, and we had to like lose him, and we had like a car heist.
Wait, why was the truck driver chasing?
We kind of like tailgated him a little bit and made him really angry, and then he stopped, pulled over, and then he got behind us and tailgated us. And then we took a turn, and then he followed us. We took another turn, he followed us, and then we thought we lost him, but then his street somehow met up back with us, and then we were like, okay, we're really close to the house. So then we turned around and went back to town, just like trying to get away from him, and then we hid behind some other cars coming back to the house. We're safe.
That is... Okay.
I'm alive today.
Yeah, okay.
But he was very angry. I think he opened his window and like was about to say something to us, but we just zoomed away.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a good time.
That does sound fun.
Got to catch up with the boys.
Yeah.
Actually, we have the vlog.
The vlog, which is the mid-segment.
Jay, can you see anything?
I approximately cannot see anything.
Watch out, it's alright! Alright! Tonight!
Those are crazy.
I am the one.
As I look at JJ, I realize he may never come back. Beers, we made it to the top.
Down bad can you possibly be?
You're not using it in the right context. It's not down bad. There's no filter, no nothing. This is straight up guitar, straight up his voice.
So we just got off of school.
We did.
Read a lot of books. We're forced to read a lot of books, though they were pretty good.
Yes.
But have you been reading any books during this break?
Yes. So my birthday was recently, and my sister got me a book by Quentin Tarantino.
What?
Yeah, it's a very recent book. It's called Cinema Speculation. All it is he goes over films in the 60s and 70s. He basically reviews them, and then he gives... I was gonna say he gives his thoughts, but he reviews them. That's what it is. He reviews them, and then he says like the impact they had on film culture or cinema as a whole. So each movie he talks about is like 10 pages, like 10 to 15 pages, and he talks about a ton of films, and that's all the book is.
What? Have you read a lot of it yet?
I've read, I'd say about 100. It's like a 500-page book, but I've read about 100 of them.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm
And you got
close.
it for your birthday?
Yes, my big sister got it for me.
Very nice.
So I've been reading that. What about you, Max? Have you been reading anything?
I haven't been reading a lot, but I have been listening to books.
Okay.
Been listening to Weight of Glory by C.S. Lewis. And it's really fascinating because C.S. Lewis is like designed for people who go to our school.
Yeah.
It seems. Like we read all this classic literature and he does all these allusions. Allusions is where you refer to another author's work.
Yeah.
And I know most of the people he's alluding to, so it's fantastic.
That's good. Okay.
And he's like modern enough, right? So he died like the same day JFK died.
Okay.
So
yeah.
late
60s,
1900s.
60s.
Yeah. So he's very relevant in the topics, and it's just amazing. And I never knew Lewis was this fantastic because all I've read was or listened to was Chronicles of Narnia because like grammar school, Mr. Anderson reads it out loud, and I didn't really know what was going on there. But he has some really quality stuff, and Weight of Glory is sort of about the nature of glory. It feels like it's like a Q&A session or like questions people ask him, and then he gives
His
like
response.
a speech about it or something like that.
Yeah.
So he talks about like pacifism in the war. But just a lot of cool standout quotes. You can just like take a quote from Lewis and you can just like hold on to it for life. Like one of my favorite quotes is like, I don't have it completely memorized, but it's like, in the same way that water washes up on the seashore and like comes back and forth, in the same way that poetry replaces grammar, right? Poetry is the summation of all the grammar that you've learned. It's the same way that gospel replaces law.
Okay.
So it's like, and it's like that things, you don't change completely immediately, right? You become saved, but then there's a long process over time, right?
After you're saved.
Yeah,
Okay.
of you actually becoming like Christ. That would be like sanctification.
Okay.
So it's pretty fascinating, and he says like some people, their main bulk of, I guess, sanctification or outward sanctification that people can see is only in their later life, even though they're saved when they're 10. Say like you can only really tell that they look Christian on the outside when they're like 90, which is really fascinating, right? And I'm sure you know people like that, right?
Yes.
Maybe like you have I don't know, people in your life, they went to church when they were younger, but it was only later that it really started.
That actually hit them.
You started to see. Obviously, maybe they just actually weren't Christian until then, but it's...
And we're like forced to go. Maybe.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting concept that it takes a long time. And to think about it that way, that like, I don't know, how long did it take you to get from learning grammar to actually enjoying poetry? Maybe you don't even enjoy poetry yet. Maybe you'll take
maybe it
until
takes
you're
longer.
50.
Yeah.
So just different concepts like that.
What would you say the main overall theme of the book is then?
I haven't finished the whole audiobook.
Okay, you haven't finished.
But
So far,
it's sort of
yes.
weird because it's about lots of different things.
Okay.
It would be like Quentin Tarantino's like about different movies.
Okay.
He's just like talking about different topics.
Okay.
So I guess he talks about pacifism and how we're always in a war state, right? Like some people would say, oh, there's peacetime and there's wartime, but Lewis would say that we're always in wartime. I guess his idea is that we're always having small feuds and then sometimes there's big feuds. So to say that we're ever in a peacetime would be incorrect.
Could you give...
But really fascinating stuff. And I don't know. It's just really interesting to see really good authors doing their thing.
Yeah. And especially if it's just kind of them just laying out their thoughts on certain topics.
Exactly.
Then you get to know them better in a way.
Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting.
Yeah. And then it kind of like he's very practical in the way that he speaks, and he really wants Christians to apply what they're learning.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of this quote. I've been reading this Spurgeon study Bible instead of my regular Bible because it just has little comments. And he's talking, this is from, I think, like Genesis 12. He talks about how, quote, it is far easier to become a monk or a nun and shut ourselves up alone than it is to live in the midst of ungodly people and yet to be ourselves godly, to trade with the usual followers of commerce and not to fall into their business customs, to mix with the usual host of thinkers, yet to not think as they think, but to endeavor to think the thoughts of God and to obey the will of the Most High. And it's pretty fascinating, this idea that we're not meant to go run away, right? We're supposed to be salt and light. And I guess like maybe you're supposed to be salt and light later in life, but we're supposed to work in a work environment. We're not supposed to just like run away into like only going to church, only working in a Christian organization, but we're supposed to be in the midst of other non-Christians. Of non-Christians.
Yeah, because you got to live your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go out there. You can get a job, a secular job, I guess, in a way of like no one else is a Christian, but you still got to do it.
Yeah. Because it's unrealistic to think that you can just get away from all of them.
Yeah, because that's just not the world. As much as like it'd be cool, the whole world isn't filled with only Christians.
Yeah.
There are atheists. There are people who follow other religions.
Yeah.
And you still have to live on.
I think there's like a verse talking about how it would be impossible to live outside, but you're allowed to associate with non-believers, but Paul talks about how you shouldn't associate with people who say they're believers but don't act in accordance, which is pretty interesting.
So he rather have you hang out with non-believers than people who say they're believers but don't actually believe?
Yes,
That's what you mean?
I believe that's what he's saying.
Interesting.
Because it's like, at least they're not saying that they're believers,
at least
right?
they're not lying.
They're not misrepresenting.
Yes. Okay, because misrepresentation. That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it a bit more clear.
So Shane,
Yes.
you've been at home a lot, and I guess you've been talking with your dad more, and your dad's been talking about how you're going to be going to college soon.
Yeah. So one of our goals for this winter break was to plan college visits because we have, what I want to do down. We're fairly confident that I probably want to stay in Texas because A, it's cheaper, and B, if I'm living on campus anyway, I don't have a huge need to go outside of the state. I don't see the point. It's just easier all around to be in-state. So we've been planning that out, and on top of all the college planning stuff and like SAT prep stuff, he's talked to me about me as a person moving on. Because, as we know in college, you're on your own at that point. You don't have parents around you. You probably won't have most of your friends that you've had around you. You might have a couple. So it really is just you living your life, doing it on your own. You're at school. And yeah. So a question that he's been bringing up to me is like, since I am going to be independent, what are some virtues that I want to sort of implement in my life to grow as a man and as a person? Because this is the growth phase. Now this is where you grow. You go up, you're on your own. So the two that probably stand out to me right now, the two virtues that I want to implement in my life, moving on, would probably be compassion and cooperation, or like community. Okay. So compassion, that's pretty self-explanatory. I want to be there for people, right? One of my main goals is, and I still struggle with this, I want to be a pretty decent human being, in the sense of I don't want to be like a jerk to anyone. I don't want to be the guy that no one likes. I don't have to be the guy everyone loves, but I don't want to be like frowned upon based on how I act around people. And I think compassion is important, because I think you never know when like a friend of yours or just a stranger like needs you to just understand them, needs you to just listen to them, needs you to understand what they're going through. And I think compassion can help with that, of just being there for people and just being a good human being. And I also think that makes you a good Christian if you're compassionate to others, because in a way you're like loving your neighbor, right? You're being there for them. And I think compassion, that's one I've always sort of been in. Like I'll always text, I tell you this, I've always texted friends, just checked in on them every once in a while. So yeah, I think compassion would be it. Like kindness kind of plays into compassion, but kindness is something that I'm definitely working on, because I'll be mad and I'll probably talk trash to someone behind their back or like yell at them. So that's something I need to work on. But compassion, I think I'm very close to sort of getting that down, and that's something I want to keep in my life. The next one is cooperation. I love working with...
So that would be like more of a value.
Yeah, that's more of a value. It's virtue and value, you could sort of swap them. Yeah. So cooperation, virtue, value, whatever you want to call it. That I think working with people is important. This sort of leans into what I was talking to you about. I think some virtues or values only work with certain people, and I think cooperation is one of them, because some people very well work best on their own. And I think that's completely okay. I have no issue with that. Like, let's say you can be perfect, like you're genius on your own. When you work with others, either you don't get along with them or you're just not as productive. That's fine. For me, if I'm working with others, like others who actually also want to work, I'm not talking about like others who just mess around, then I get more done, I enjoy it more, and I think you grow as a team. And I think that growth is important in cooperation, because you can cooperate with people that later on in life can be, a business partner of yours or whatnot. Like, you need to know how to cooperate in a team just to live your life, I think. And so, yeah, growth, I think it helps with the growth. I love working with the team. And I think it's just it's like a fun virtue to have. That one doesn't really change my life drastically, but I think that's just makes my life more interesting, I'd say. Cooperation.
So those are the main two things that you really care about right now.
There are more than those two, but those are the two that come to mind.
So you could like boil it down to just like loving people and then being in a community.
Being in the community, yeah.
So you want to sort of take that into college.
Yeah, because it's college. Because if I'm on campus,
love
like I said,
people in a community.
Yes, because I'm on campus. Because that helps with the campus life.
Yeah,
which
is incredibly Christian.
Yeah,
because we're made to be in communities with other people, and we're made to be loving other people.
Yes.
And to love the least, or like you're talking about, like people who need you, is to love Christ, right?
Yes.
So that's really good.
And again, I'm still trying to work on it, but. Yeah, those are the two. What about you, Max? Do you have two virtues
things that I want to impress upon other people?
Yes.
Through my actions. I don't know. I don't think I'm necessarily good at I'm not good at these two things, but they're two things
that you want to work on.
That I want to work on.
Yeah, and that's fine. Perfect.
I think like patience and like maybe like I was thinking about this earlier. Maybe like some sort of like contentment or gratitude.
Gratitude, okay.
Because those are the two really radical ones where if I see somebody grateful, then that great gratitude translates to joy. So it'd be
Yes.
like gratitude / joyful in one. And it really just marks somebody as a Christian to me.
Yeah.
It's like if they can be joyful and content in the midst of suffering, that's their salt in life. They're salty. I think John Piper put it before. And it's like, you're like, how are you joyful and thankful when everything's going wrong in your life? Somebody died, you lost your job, your cat died, you have no money, but yet you're still trusting God and you're working hard and you're pushing through. And that fascinates me a lot. I guess that would be by the Spirit. So all these things would be learned or I guess implanted in me or over life by God. So yeah, gratitude, and then patience. Patience also strikes me in other people whenever they're extremely patient with other people when I would so easily blow up.
Yeah. And that's also something I need to work on.
And patience is weird because, like, especially whenever you're a kid, you don't notice it. Like, whenever other people are patient with you.
Yeah.
So that's a really big one for me. Those two things are, like, really stand out for, like, I guess just people to recognize that something different's going on with you and maybe,
And
I don't know, just have a
think those two
conversation about it.
also are real Christian virtues, like patience. We pray for things all the time. We just did a Devo on this. Like you're allowed to pray for things that maybe you'd want in your life, but it doesn't always happen right away. Like you have to be patient and understand that the Lord He hears you and He knows what's best for you. So patience is key in prayer, I think, as well. And gratitude, like that's also amazing. Like, your life could suck at a time, but if you have such a strong foundation in your faith, like this is just all a part of God's plan. It's all going to end up being better, and you're just grateful anyway, or your gratitude. Yeah. So I think those are good. Those are two very good virtues, Max.
And we read Augustine's Confessions
Yeah.
in sophomore year.
And
I believe it was St. Ambrose who was the guy who, I guess, sort of helped convert Augustine to Christianity. And it was, Augustine was gravitated towards St. Ambrose. I think it's St. Ambrose. I'm going to put on the screen.
It was a saint, for sure.
Somebody.
It was definitely
somebody.
a saint. His name started with an A.
Yeah.
I do remember that much. I don't know for sure. If it's
And he
Ambrose.
was, like, Augustine really liked Ambrose's, like, rhetoric. But he realized that, like, Ambrose's rhetoric, the eloquence came from the doctrine, and then Augustine started getting closer to the doctrine itself, and Augustine was also very much won over to Christianity by Ambrose's general just kindness. And so it's this idea that our actions, all of the things that we do in a sense are evangelical or preach the gospel to people or qualify or disqualify. I don't know if that last part would be correct. But like people can see your actions and see if you actually double down on what you believe, right?
Yes.
Obviously, we're going to be failing all the time, but we would hope that some of our actions would reflect the fruit of the Spirit. And with St. Ambrose, that would be kindness, and Augustine really saw that. And I think our actions definitely do matter, and the things that we value do matter. And
Absolutely.
I think people can see those things.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and what do you think the highest virtue is? We were talking about 1 Corinthians 13 in Miss Banishment's class. Do you remember what that was about?
No.
You don't remember what that was about?
No.
The last like 2 weeks.
I thought it was Romans 13.
No, we were reading the same verse over and over again.
Was that
And
not
you would-
Romans?
No, you would read one verse, and then the next person would read another verse.
I could have sworn that was Romans
And then
13.
it was like, basically, it was just like, love is patient, love is kind, love
so
is
love.
not
You
arrogant
said
or
love.
rude. So
I
it's
could have
all about-
sworn that was Romans.
So it was like, the greatest things are like faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love.
Okay. And love, love kind of plays in. Love, if you think about it, is sort of kind of plays into most virtues.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a part in those virtues, like gratitude. You still love God. You still love your life, even though stuff's going on. Patience. You love God enough where you can be patient.
Yeah.
Mine definitely love, or my virtues, love definitely works through those. So I think that's also a reason why it's probably the highest one, because you could find love in so many things.
Yeah.
And God loves us.
Exactly.
So there you go. Yeah. He sacrificed his son because of his love for us. So I think, love is definitely up there. Yeah.
So speaking of like living in the world and making effects on other people, I've been listening to more
Secular,
or I don't know if worldly is the right word, but at least
I guess secular works.
Yeah, music, right?
Because there was a phase where you would listen to mostly Christian music, or was it mostly Christian, or was it only
exclusively
exclusively Christian music? Okay.
For about a year.
Yeah.
That was mainly for legalistic purposes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was conscience as well. But I've been branching out. I made a playlist called Truth, Goodness, and Beauty, in parentheses, November Experiment. So I had an experiment for November.
That involved secular music?
Yes.
Okay.
For the playlist. And instead, like whenever I heard a song that I really liked, but it wasn't Christian, I would add it to that playlist.
Okay.
And what I learned is there some really good secular music, and you can glean, you can see God through the secular music. For example, there's some really, really great art pieces out there made by non-Christians, right? Mm-hmm. But there is still beauty in it, and that beauty, we can see God, right? The beauty isn't God, or the music isn't God, but we can see God through that, because God is a God of beauty, right? So I guess I've been trying to understand that better, and I guess I get to see through the lyrics people's perspectives on life. And I guess as classical people or classically educated people, we're supposed to be trying to find the best of both the secular and Christian world.
Yeah.
And then I guess
because that fits into the verse, or not the verse, a theme that you were talking about earlier in the book, in the C.S. Lewis book, how you still have to live your life.
Yes.
In this world, around non-Christians.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you don't necessarily have to listen to it. And then
I'm saying that's part of it. Is like you won't always have Christian music
in
playing.
Some aspect. Yeah, you're going to go into a restaurant and you're going to
There's going to for sure be. It could be like Doja Cat or something like it's.
But I guess it would. Yeah, no, I listened to secular music, but whenever I had my own time.
I'm just saying what you were just saying. Yeah, they sort of interrupt. Yeah.
And then I don't know. And then at the same time, like music itself can't be secular or Christian. Right. So there's nothing inherently non-Christian about notes necessarily. You could say something about like there being resolutions and dissonance, but I wouldn't fully buy into that. It's mainly the lyrics, right?
Yes.
And in that sense, I would rather listen to Christian lyrics still, because secular lyrics or non-Christian lyrics don't rock me the same way.
I think it's fine to have a preference. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And so it's sort of a toss-up for me in between Christian and non-Christian music because of that. Mm-hmm. Because there is some good Christian music, and that's what I learned over the year, where I only listen to Christian music.
Definitely. I mean, there's Christian genres.
Yeah.
There's Christian rap.
Yeah.
There's Christian... I can only think of rap, but I'm sure there's more. I know that.
Yeah. I guess the idea wouldn't be that it's like it doesn't exist. It's just that most people don't like it.
Or don't know about it. Because I think that the stereotypical thing, let's say you're just a atheist or something, you think of Christian music, you might think of like hymnal music, just like sort of an operatic thing.
Yeah.
And you don't know... or like the really light, because I know some Christian music like really light hard and like the guitar is playing, it's really loud. But there are also like slow Christian songs, like I was saying, Christian rap and stuff. So I think
what's fascinating? Christian music, the Christian music industry is massive.
It is big.
Like in
there are Christian. I've been to one concert, and it was a Christian concert, packed, filled up. So there's definitely a demand for it.
Yeah, and when you open up Apple Music, the top. Like, they list out, like, 12 genres. Mm-hmm. Like, the number 5 genre is Christian.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Very fascinating.
I did not know that. Interesting,
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying it out, listening to different artists, and it has been expanding my instrument playing as well. Okay, like, I get to play more guitar songs that are more complicated. Mm-hmm.
A good challenge, I guess.
What do you think about Christian and non-Christian music, Shane?
Well, I mostly listen to non-Christian music. I have no issue with Christian music. Just how you have a preference. You prefer Christian music over non-Christian music. I happen to just prefer non-Christian music over Christian. I think Christian music can hit you more, like hit you in the heart more, depending on what you're going through. Like I know Amazing Grace. My dad doesn't listen to a lot of Christian music, but Amazing Grace, when he hears it, that really hits him. He'll like break down in tears and stuff. So I think you could get more out of Christian music. But secular music for me, I can't. I think it depends on when you listen to music. Because like, do you listen to music like in bed or something, or like around?
So
when do you? I have a
listen to
preference
music
that you listen to music in general, guitar, working out. I also do it working out, running, and to focus. Right, I play music in the background to when I'm writing a paper, when I'm studying, chill study beats, or loaf like that. YouTube
Lo-fi is amazing.
Yeah, lo-fi. But so the scenarios where I listen to music, Christian music doesn't help me necessarily achieve what I want to do in that scenario. Like working out, Christian music, I'm more relaxed by it. And when I work out, I listen to like hype music, like loud music and stuff. And it's mostly non-Christian loud music that helps me get in that state of like, I got to do this, I got to keep pushing. When I run, there are some Christian songs I play or listen to, but it's mostly non-Christian because there are more non-Christian songs that help me go for like a PR while I'm running or help me push for the mile than Christian songs. Again, I still listen to Christian songs for that, but just the non-Christian's better in that environment. Studying, I can't listen to Christian music at all. I can't focus. I just start thinking of other things. I listen to non-Christian music or like ambient music or whatnot to help me focus. It's just about preference, I think.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue going either way unless you like bash Christian music like this sucks, it doesn't do anything. But yeah, I mean my preference is just not Christian, yours is Christian, and I think that's totally acceptable to have different.
I do agree.
Yeah.
In the music territory, it's definitely an adiaphora.
Oh, I don't know what that means.
You don't remember adiaphora?
No. Is that, did we learn that
You're supposed
school?
to remember. That was one of the bonus questions. No, that's literally one of the main questions.
What?
It's like one of the true or false questions.
Oh, I didn't memorize any of the true or
Okay,
false
adiaphora is the things that the Bible gives you freedom on.
Okay,
In a sense. Obviously, there's some bounds, but for the most part, there's freedom there.
If Miss Management is watching this, I've messed up.
Yeah,
like, I'm
It was
sorry.
literally on like multiple tests.
Dude, I think that's it, Max.
Well, Shane, that was very nice.
That was good. You're about to go on another vacation, so
I know.
don't have to worry about this.
I'll be editing.
You'll be
this on the
editing, but
plane.
still enjoy it. And we'll be.
Are we doing a guest episode next?
I think so.
I think
This was a rough ending. Like this last 30 seconds. I'm sorry. We'll be back.